morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Composition 1, Lecture 4. If you remember, the previous few lectures introduced some ideas as to how to prepare to write. And we talked about taking care of your grammar, so sentences have to be in many ways grammatical. And in addition, we talked about having ideas to write about. If you choose to write about a topic, in that sense, you really need to prepare your ideas. And once you prepare your ideas, these ideas need to be organized in a way to be presented so the reader would be able to follow what you want to say. Now, in addition to that, what we talked about and we emphasized is we said, in order to express your ideas, you need some vocabulary to help you out in expressing those ideas. So we emphasized that you take care in getting to know and learn some new vocabulary items that relate to the topic you wish to write about. Now, let us remind ourselves that all of these activities happen before someone writes a composition or a paragraph. That is because the more you prepare for your composition or essay, the better the outcome will be. Now, in addition to that, we would like to talk some more about writing our composition, but now this time we need to introduce some supporting elements that would help explain or express our ideas in a more kind of related manner. What do we mean by that? Now, let's say you have a paragraph such as the one you see here, and you want to rewrite this paragraph using connecting words. Now, what we mean by that is, let's say your paragraph contains a number of ideas, and some of these ideas are related, some of these ideas are similar. It is best to connect these ideas using what is called connecting words. Let's take a look at this paragraph in front of us. Let's read it together. Studying abroad offers students many advantages. First of all, students have the opportunity to learn a new language by interacting with native speakers every day. The students live in a new culture, so they can learn both in and out of the classroom. Studying abroad teaches students that there are other ways of looking at the world. This is a very important part of education. Students learn to be flexible because they have to adapt to different ways of living. They experience another culture in a much more significant way than if they simply took a vacation to another country. Foreign students are far from home. Therefore, they have to become responsible and self-reliant. When they study abroad, students have an experience they will remember all their lives. Now, this paragraph was written without using any connecting words. Now, in this paragraph, you notice that there are some kind of related ideas, so to speak. So if you say studying abroad offers students many advantages, and then you begin by saying first of all, right? Students have the opportunity to learn a new language by interacting with native speakers every day, right? Now, in addition to that, the students live in a new culture, so they can learn. So you have learn here and learn here. So somehow the idea of learning is or can be found in the first two sentences. Sentence number 1, which ends here, and sentence number 2, which ends here. Or let's say, well, it's not sentence number 1, but I began from here. This is 1, and this is 2. Okay? So there's this idea of learning in both sentences. So in many ways, these two sentences are kind of similar. Or talking about this similar aspects, in this case, learning something. Now, the paragraph goes on and says, studying abroad teaches students that there are other ways of looking at the world. This is a very important part of education. Students learn to be flexible because they have to adapt to different ways of living. So, different ways of living and other ways of looking at the world. So, different and other are kind of also related. They experience another culture in a much more significant way than if they simply took a vacation to another country. Foreign students are far from home, therefore they have to become responsible and self-reliant, etc. So I think what we have here is two sentences that are related and another two sentences that are kind of similar and related. Now, what do we do with those two sentences, or these types of sentences, when you write your paragraph? It's important that you relate these ideas using what we call connecting words. Now, connecting words give some more organization to your paragraph. So they help the reader follow your ideas. They help the reader understand you more, or understand what you want to express more. Now, this exercise is on page 11 of your textbook. This paragraph, I mean. Now, what we would like to use here is two connecting words, which are in addition and also. Now, we want to use the same paragraph. Now, this paragraph, of course, can be found on page 11, like I mentioned before. But an exercise on page 10, which is exercise on page 10, but the title is Using Connecting Words in Addition and Also. You could take a look at that. We would like to take a look at this paragraph, but after we've added connecting words, and see how it looks like, or what it looks like. So this is the same paragraph, but we've added connecting words. So here it says, studying abroad offers students many advantages. First of all, students have the opportunity to learn a new language by interacting with native speakers every day. In addition, the students live in a new culture, so they can learn both in and out of the classroom. Also, that means furthermore, studying abroad teaches students that there are other ways of looking at the world. This is a very important part of education. Students learn to be flexible because they have to adapt to different ways of living. In addition, they experience another culture in a much more significant way than if they simply took a vacation in another country. So, as you can see, we've used connecting words, I think, in probably 1, 2, 3 occasions or 3 positions that kind of related the ideas presented in the paragraph together. So the function of these connecting words kind of is bringing the ideas together, joining the ideas together, joining related ideas together. And that's important in your composition. It makes your composition better. It makes the paragraph tied up and not just loose and open for, I don't know, the reader to figure out what you want to say. So the more careful, the more organized you are, and the more the ideas are related in one paragraph, the more your composition or paragraph is solid and understandable and good. And good, we mean expressive. So yes, connecting words, a very important tool to use in your writing. Now, another set of words that can be used in your composition is what is called transition words, or transition words and phrases. Now, what these transition words and phrases do, they give you a chance to not bore the reader. Sometimes when people write, or some people write, they write in such a way that is very dull and very boring for the reader. So the reader can't keep up. The reader just feels tired and not interested. But unfortunately, sometimes when you write something, you have to write something boring. And one of the boring stuff that most people really don't like or don't enjoy reading is when you have a series of ideas or a list of ideas or a list of elements that you want to state. So sometimes, let's say you want to list some factors and you have 5 factors relating to a topic and you want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you just state them one after the other, the reader might feel bored, might lose interest in what he or she is reading. So in order to avoid that, what do is you transfer from one idea to another in such a way that you can avoid boring the reader. And that could be used, that could be done by using transition words, such as first of all and finally. Right. So you've used first of all and finally when you want to list several points. These are also called listing cues. Listing cues. So when you write your paragraph, and let's say you want to mention a few points, 1, 2, or 3 points, and you want to indicate to the reader that you want to mention these points, and these points are in the order that they will be presented. what do? Would you put a colon and start by saying 1 and then 2 and 3 and 4 and then you just list your ideas? That would be very dull, very boring. Convenient sometimes, but very dull and very boring. What you have to do, or what you should do, is actually say, first of all. That would cue, that would give the reader an indication that, when you said first of all, that means there's another point to follow. There's another point that's going to come after this first of all. So when you say first of all and then you state your point, then there will be a second point, a third point, a fourth point, and what have you. And then you conclude by saying finally. Finally indicates that you don't have any other points to mention anymore. You're done. And that's why you said finally. That means you've mentioned the final point. Right. So note that first of all and finally come at the beginning of a sentence and are always followed by a comma. This is what they look like. Imagine this paragraph, and this paragraph can be found in your book as well. There are many reasons international students might feel homesick. So you said many reasons. Right? Many reasons. That's what you said. So that means you're going to mention some. There are many reasons international students might feel homesick. Now, why is that? Then you said, first of all, and then first of all is followed, as you notice, by a comma. It's always the case that when you say first of all, you have to follow it by a comma. First of all, they may be away from their families for the first time. And then you have our connecting word here, as we explained before. In addition, there is the problem of adapting to a completely different culture. So that's kind of saying second. Here you said first of all, and instead of saying second of all, you said in addition. In addition to what? In addition to the point just mentioned. You mentioned here in first of all. So you said in addition, which is also a connecting word, because you connected the first idea and the second idea. And then finally, not knowing the native language can make students feel isolated. And here, finally, is written and followed at the beginning of the at the beginning of the sentence, and then followed by a comma. Now, all in all, how many ideas do we have in this paragraph? We have 3 ideas. First of all, they may be away from home, from their families. In addition, which is second, really, the second idea, there is the problem of adapting to another culture. And then third, which is finally, not knowing the native language. So these are the 3 points. So instead of saying 1, 2, and 3, you said, first of all, in addition, and finally. In that way, your paragraph comes to life, and you avoid boring the reader. Now we move on to another point, and it's actually very, very important. And many people who don't write often fall into this mistake of overgeneralization. And what we mean by overgeneralization, when you write, don't make statements that are so general that they are not true. That's why overgeneralization is bad and should be avoided. What we mean by that, when you say all students cheat on exams, or students always cheat on exams, is that sentence true when you say all students cheat on exams? Not really. You can't say that all the students in one university or college cheat. Or saying every student cheats on an exam. So you said all, and then you said every, and that means when you say all and you say every, that means no one is excluded. That means everyone. So you've made a generalization. But if you make this generalization, you might fall into the problem that your generalization or your statement is not true. It's just wrong. Now, how do we fix that? There's a way. The first way is to avoid using words such as always and never. So this is an example of an overgeneralization. When you say all international students work harder than other students. All of them. What you're saying really is that no international student is a bad student, and no other student is better than an international student. So if you've made this generalization, that is not necessarily true. So what you have to do to avoid this is that you have to avoid using always and never. That's one way to do things. That's a start. You shouldn't say always and never because you really don't know. And especially when you say this about people. How can you guarantee that everyone you're talking about has this characteristic? So if you do that, if you do use always and never, you're always in a position of not being so true. What you should do is use usually, often, almost, and almost never. These kind of approximate words are better to use. So when you, instead of saying all international students work harder than other students, you can always, you can substitute this word, the word all, with the word usually. If you say usually, then your sentence can be true. But when you say all, you're putting yourself in a very difficult position. So using overgeneralizations in that manner is wrong and bad for your composition and bad for expressing your ideas. this thing should be avoided. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and do exercise number 6 on page 15. And that is correcting overgeneralizations. What you're going to see in this exercise is a list of overgeneralizations, a list of statements, of sentences, and they're overgeneralized, so they're wrong. What I want you to do is take a look at them and see where the overgeneralization is and how it can be fixed. So let me just read you the first one, which is also solved, by the way, in your textbook. All international students have a difficult time their first year. Now notice, the first problem that you can spot is the use of the word all. All international students have a difficult time their first year. Now, how would you change this sentence? How would you fix the overgeneralization? The suggestion here is many international students have a difficult time their first year. So instead of using all, the writer chose to use many. Now, in that sense, the overgeneralization is avoided. Right. Try to do items 2, 3, 4, and 5 only. Don't do more than that. And please post your answer in the course forum. And let me repeat the course forum. Try to avoid sending me the email. I'd rather prefer that you post it in the course forum where all the students can take a look at each other's answers. Okay? Right. Let me just go back a step and recap what we just said. We first introduced the lecture by introducing rewriting a paragraph with connecting words. And we looked at this paragraph without connecting words. And then we looked at the same paragraph with connecting words. Right? In addition, we used transition words and phrases, first of all and finally. And then we moved on to overgeneralizations. Now, we've more or less introduced 3 to 4 ideas in this lecture. Now, these are ideas and methods to use in your writing, when you actually write, not before. So, you have to train yourself on using those. Go to the exercise and do it. I'll expect the post by next week. Thank you very much for listening, and you can go on to the next lecture. Thank you.